Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel here on YouTube, where I've got the TNT takes for you on Survivor 44. That's right, we're back for one more time before the finale to talk about all of the players that are currently left in the game. And I'm going to be doing my final power ranking here of the season. I don't know how many people we're going to get into the live here tonight because it is at a different time slot from when we normally do it at 6 p.m. I had to move it a little bit. But yeah, this one's not as funky, Chris. I know. So Chris here in the live, welcome to the live, saying this hotel isn't as good in the backdrop. It's a little bit more mundane. But as I'm moving around over the next couple of months, you're going to see my backdrop change all the time. Sometimes it'll be interesting. Sometimes it won't be. I sadly don't have as much control over it. Christian says, hello, Christian. How you doing? I hope everything's going well on your end. So yesterday I traveled from Orlando to Tampa, and my train was about 2.5 hours late getting on the train coming to Tampa, and I didn't really plan the day out as well as I could have. So I got a bit dehydrated. I think by the end of the day, I was just having a massive headache. So I couldn't jump on. So we had to move the live from the time that we would normally do it. And I think this is a little bit early for Kahuna still. But, you know, everything's going well on this side. Georgette, welcome. Welcome back to the live as well. So I thought I'd better jump on and do this before the episode drop tomorrow so that we can get our thoughts out there. I'm going to have you, the live audience, help me with the power rankings here tonight. It's going to be between us to decide where we want to put everybody. I did also do, I think, a bit of a poll today on the channel, and I asked, who do you think is going to win this season? And so far, we've had, within 3 hours, 109 of you have responded with a vote, which is really cool. We'll check that at the end of this live as well, just in case somebody does go in there and place their vote a little bit late, like Chris, who's been at work the whole day. I'm not too sure, Chris, if you saw that poll, but I asked, who do we think is going to win? And we had options between Carolyn, Yam Yam, Carson, and then sadly, YouTube only allows me to put 4 different options in, so I can't do 5. So I had to put Lauren and Heidi as a combined option because, in my opinion, Lauren and Heidi is the lowest chance. And in the votes, they've got 6%. Carson is only sitting at 12%, and then Yam Yam is sitting at 36%, while Carolyn has nearly got half of the votes at this point, at 46%. Everybody is very high on Carolyn's game at this stage, so which is really cool to see. Christian says, live finale party for you at US. Sadly not. I didn't, my trip to come here to the US wasn't actually based on Survivor alone, so I was actually traveling, and I'm meeting up with a friend of mine who is also flying into Tampa, and we're going to go on a cruise pretty soon. So it was a pre-planned trip for different reasons, not for Survivor. But I do want to make sure, Christian, that when Survivor 46 hits, I'd love to go to a Bryson Wynn Presents live event. So if everybody, let's try and plan this as far ahead of time as we can. So if anybody that can afford to go there wants to go there, maybe a few of us go to like a live Wendell and Bryce Isaiah presents party, because I think 46 could be a good season. It may be an all-star season. So one of the off-season topics I actually want to do on this channel with Kahuna and whoever else is cast who we think should be on that season. So we're probably going to have to do that live very soon, because I've got a feeling within the next couple of weeks we're going to find out who the cast is. If it's an all-stars cast, I don't think it's going to stay secret for very long. Chris says, I saw it, but you know who I voted for. Yeah, I know who you voted for. You and I both. I also had my one vote in on Carolyn. Scott, welcome back to the live. Said, surprisingly, I'm here live again. I'm still new to your show, but I really appreciate your takes on the game. I appreciate it, Scott. I really appreciate you coming back. At the end of the day, we're just, I'm just a fan like one of you. And one of the things for me is that I don't think I know it all. But with the live audience, we kind of figure it out together. We figure out what's going on in the show. We talk about it. It's one of the things about me, Scott, you wouldn't know that. There's probably quite a few people who won't know that, who might be quite new to the channel, is that for years and years, I was this big Survivor fan, Amazing Race fan, and more so recently I got into the challenge seasons as well within the last 3 years. But I used to be like the closet Survivor fan that never spoke about it. I didn't have friends who really watched the show. I couldn't engage or talk to them about why Tony Vlachos is the GOAT. I couldn't have that conversation because they're like, who's Tony Vlachos? And I created this channel because I wanted to interact and talk to other fans. And now I've met so many fans online. I've met the likes of Drew, Chantal, so many other great, like Russell Muscle, Flynn Masters, so many great, other YouTubers that I can talk to as well, that I feel like I'm a part of the clan now. So, I'm so happy I did it. A couple of years ago when the pandemic and everything happened, I had more time. So that's when I sort of got into it. Gabe says, we know Lauren and Heidi ain't winning, all right. Richard, all the way from South Africa. Richard, welcome to the live. I didn't think you were going to be awake still at this time. If you want to, you can jump in and do the power rankings with me if you want to do it. You just let me know and I'll send you the link. We'll definitely have Richard on the live in the future if he can't do this because it's a bit unplanned and in the middle of the night over there. But Richard is my co-host for Survivor South Africa. At this stage, no new news on Survivor South Africa, so I don't know when that's coming back. Chris is saying the Survivor Specialists and a TNT team up. I'll try and make it happen. I'll reach out to the Survivor Specialists. I've never actually spoken to them directly, but I love doing collaborations with other YouTube content creators. That's why we're going to have the Survivor Scholars on with us to talk about the finale episode this week. Get saying, I'm afraid of US All-Star season because Jeff wanted to have Edge of Extinction. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Edge of Extinction, but hopefully we do get an All-Star season, though. If that is the only way we get an All-Star season, I'll probably stomach it. He's gotten me to that point now where we really need to see an All-Star season. I'm really missing All-Star seasons. It's been 5 seasons after 45. It's a long stint, and there's so many great players, especially from that mid-30s onwards, that we haven't seen come back yet. But I want to see play the game. Hey, Cashwash, welcome back to the live stream. You're just in time. We haven't actually even got into any of the power rankings, but we're going to be doing that now, and I'm going to be bringing up the power rankings as it stood coming into this week. We had our 3 different categories, like always. We had Soul Survivor, for those who we think have got the best shot at winning. We had our Spy Shack, which could go either way, could be a winning game, could maybe not be a winning game, and then On the Edge. And I'm very happy to say that at least we got On the Edge right again on this one, because we were completely wrong with Franny. Franny was the only one that was in Spy Shack when she was eliminated from the game, because I really thought that she had a chance, and she was kind of sniped out of the game when she was voted out. But Jamie does end up getting voted out this week. She is now no longer a part of the power rankings. Kind of interested to know, what do all of you here in the live think of everybody in the spot, like of Jamie's game? Did you like Jamie's game this season? Would you like to see more of Jamie's game in the future? For me personally, I feel like Jamie was a fun character, but she may be forgotten, which is sad to say. But I really did enjoy her bubbly, positive personality. I think she was a bigger threat than what we as an audience realized, because of the fact, like I spoke about it on the Survivor Buffs. I was a guest on there with Coach Drew and M on the weekend. And I spoke about the fact that, I think she really was good socially with her tribe. So I really enjoyed her. I wouldn't be angry to see her come back, but I can also see her being a forgotten character of this new era of Survivor. It just depends on who she's going to go up against when they start. And this is what we're going to have to think about when myself and Kahuna or Jake or whoever's going to be a part of that, if we do a casting of returnees for All-Stars, we're going to have to think about it a little bit. Let's have a look who else is commenting here. We've got Russell Muscle TV in the live. Russell, welcome to the live stream. I just saw your video on Russell Hantz. So for everybody after this live, if you haven't seen Russell Muscle's newest video on why Russell Hantz's stocks plummeted, the quick rise and fall of them, Russell just did a mini documentary on it. So go check that out. I thought it was really good. Chris is agreeing. Yes, Chris is a big Carolyn fan. Jared, welcome back to the live as well. Happy to see the best Russell out there. Chris is saying that Jamie was cute and fun, but I wouldn't say she was a major player. No, she wasn't. She wasn't a major player, especially not in accordance to the edit. In any case, I'd be interested to know from people after the season would they have voted for her if she did get to the end, because it did look like she had some relationships we didn't get to see on the show. Like her and Kane were really close, apparently. Russell Muscle saying, I felt bad for the editor. She received fun character, though. Could tell the players loved her strong social game. That's exactly what I'm thinking, Russell. I think her social game was a lot better. And the way I sort of saw it was when they did that yoga Pilates out on the beach. Like, you wouldn't do that with people that you don't like. Everybody was engaged. No one was making fun of her like they would have made fun of Coach back in the day when he was doing his Dragon Chi out there. So I really feel like they liked her and respected her. Jared saying, I liked how Jamie was kind of trolled by the show, but she was a lovely person, very happy and sincere. Yeah. Richard saying, Jamie seemed a bit out of touch with things, and I think that's an important skill to have, awareness. Yeah. Well, the Idol thing you can forgive her for, right? I'm not too harsh on her on the Idol. Bad on Matthew, but I also really enjoyed it. Good play by him. Scott saying, my heart wants Carolyn to win, but my head says she'll be out before the final 3. Yep. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried. Scott, and we'll talk about that. Gab saying, Jamie was hilariously fun. Like I said, her upside was Simon. Yeah, definitely that Simon type of character. For those who don't know, Simon Mee from this latest season of Australian Survivor Heroes versus Villains was a fun character as well. I don't want to give too much away, but hopefully some of you do graduate over to the international show because it's got some fun characters. Jared saying, everyone is a fool if they don't find to see me as a valuable resource player. Yeah, true. That was her comment. She was, a little bit full of her own ability. But, don't you just want to bottle that self-confidence that Jamie has in life? Because, like most of the times we're our own worst critics in life. Like we are the ones that prevent ourselves from, trying out for a job we're not qualified for, or, moving from one country to another country, or just taking risks in life. And she seems like such a go-getter because she's got so much self-belief. So I do respect that about Jamie, actually. All right, let's move into the bottom person here on the power rankings. And it is going to be Lauren from the last couple of weeks. She's kind of been sitting at the bottom. And I'm really interested to know from the live audience here, do you believe that there is enough in Lauren's game at this point to put her above Heidi, or would you keep her below Heidi in this ranking if we had to look at her? For me, Lauren's an interesting player because we keep forgetting that she's gotten to this point in the game without having received a single vote in the game, which is pretty impressive, right? Like she's going into the end game. She could potentially go into a final 3 and have the case where she could say, listen, no one ever voted for me. I got through the game with my social skills. People always felt like I was an option, a number that they could work with. And that was because of my social game getting me there. Plus, I've won 2 individual immunities. And who knows, she may win another 1 or 2 in the end game. So she's proven herself in some ways. I feel like we forget about the fact that she hasn't had that vote. Just from an edit standpoint, I don't see Lauren having a better chance than Heidi yet. Like it's this conundrum that I struggle with when I think about Lauren's game and I compare it to Heidi. But I am very happy that someone with her game have gotten herself into the final 5 at this stage, which is pretty impressive. Chris is saying, I think Lauren stays below Heidi. Lauren has done well in challenges, but hasn't shown enough social awareness of how votes are going. Yes, so the one thing that we can fault her on is the fact that she's continued to believe in Carson, and that Carson was, and Yam Yam too, because I see Yam Yam as Carson's lieutenant in the game, and wherever Carson goes, Yam Yam has followed in the game so far. But, she's always believed that Carson would vote with her, and he's betrayed her many a times now, and he's led her astray, and she still has kind of blindly stayed loyal to that, which is, something that I think that they, like both Carson and Yam Yam, can have over her by the end of this game if they go up against each other in a final 3. Russell says, I think Lauren's above Heidi in terms of power ranking stocks, but if I was guessing boot order, I'm thinking Heidi makes it further. Interesting, yeah. Gabe says, sorry, Lauren, not enough at all. All we have is a personal backstory. We've got none of her gameplay. Even Erica has that. Yeah. Christian says, the final 5 immunity challenge is the same one from Game Changers and Walls Apart Final 4. I can't remember that far back, Christian. You're gonna have to let me know. I've watched too many reality TV shows in the last couple of years. I can't remember the exact challenge, but you're gonna have to let me know what it's gonna be. Like, what does it favor? Does it favor stamina? Does it favor endurance? Does it favor puzzles? Who do you think, Christian, is going to be the standout person for the final 5 immunity in that case? But I think there's enough of us here that are sort of in agreement. Russell Muscle, you might be upvoted here because I'm leaning towards keeping her below Heidi as well. I do feel like edit-wise, we've seen more of Heidi's strategic thinking, even though she hasn't always been right and she hasn't always gotten it right in the game. We've kind of seen that a little bit. The one thing that could count against Heidi, though, is the fact that she's played an idol. And if the jury's very results-focused, they would say, she played an idol when no votes were coming her way. Jared's saying, if Heidi, Lauren, and one Tika are in the final 3, unless Tika completely botches the final tribal, I don't see Heidi or Lauren winning. I agree. So they're definitely number 5 and number 4 at this stage in the game for me. And just by virtue of that alone, the way that we've been doing the power rankings this whole season is that Spy Shack means you could either win or you could still lose. On the edge means you've got no shot. So do we want to be brave and put Heidi with Lauren on the edge? I think so. I'm going to make a very bold call here, and I'd be happy to be wrong because, let's be honest, it's happened very frequently in the new era of Survivor where we've gotten it wrong. But I don't think Heidi or Lauren's winning this season. I really feel like this has been the Tika 3's season. And unless it's the final 2, which we know it isn't, I do think one of our winners is sitting at the Tika 3 at this stage. I'm pretty confident about it. Christian saying it's a puzzle tower build. Interesting. Heidi gameplay we know more of. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I still think she's above Lauren at this stage, just from a storytelling edit perspective, at least. Richard saying Heidi stays in Spy Shack. All right, what do you guys think? Should I keep her in Spy Shack, or do I put her down on the edge with Lauren? Like, she's got almost no shot at the moment. Like, let me know in the comments. Where do you guys want to see Heidi? Do you think we should leave her in Spy Shack like Richard? We've got one for Spy Shack. I've gone and I've been brutal and put her on the edge with Lauren, saying they've got no chance. Cash was saying I'm conflicted, but last episode made me want to put Heidi further down on the ranks to on the edge. Yeah. So we've got 2. Sorry, Richard, you're getting outvoted here, mate. Jared's with me. Cash was with me saying be bold. Let's put her on the edge. Very critical, I know. Chris says I would be shocked if Heidi and Lauren went over Tika. Yeah, exactly. I just can't see it. Like, just storytelling-wise, this has been Tika's season from beginning to end. We've been on that journey with them. That I'd be shocked. I really feel like it's between the 3. And this is where it's going to get tough because we need to talk about the Tika 3 next. We need to look at who in the Tika 3 deserves to have that top spot. Okay, Georgette's coming in, showing kindness, Georgette, saying Heidi's in the Spy Shack. A little bit of kindness there, which is always good to see. So we've got Richard and Georgette saying that definitely there. And then I feel like the rest of us have all been very brutal. I'm sorry, Richard and Georgette, but we've been brutal here and have put her on the edge. But the one thing I will say, though, that both Richard and Georgette, you guys have got bragging rights if one of those 2 win. You've got bragging rights because we would have gotten it completely wrong here on the power rankings. But I do want to get into the top 3. I do want to start looking at them. And we're going to start with the person that we had in 3rd place last week, which was Carolyn. And I've got this belief, and I don't know how you feel in the live here about this. I've got this belief that this last week could have been the week to take out Carolyn. You know, we were told this whole story by Yam Yam in regards to why he was going to take Carolyn out. It's his head going versus his heart. His head knows that he needs to get rid of Carolyn because she could win against him at the end, but his heart struggles to do that to a friend out there, someone that he's bonded with. And he spoke about the fact that, 26 days in, it's so much harder than going out there in the beginning and not knowing these people. But I really felt like this could have been the moment for Yam Yam to do it and for them to take out Carolyn. So based on that alone, I feel like Carolyn's got a very good shot at winning this game. And edit-wise, I feel very disappointed in Yam Yam's game for not taking that shot. So I kind of feel like I want to put Carolyn at number 2 and drop Yam Yam for a spot. And we'll talk about Carson's game versus Carolyn's game in a second. But at this stage, we're looking at Carolyn and Yam Yam. Where do you guys feel? Do you feel like Carolyn has jumped ahead of Yam Yam now because he's shown kindness out there? A game where you should be lying, cheating, backstabbing, and stealing to get to the end? You got to take out your competition? Or do you think that it just showed us that he's willing to do it and he's probably going to do it this episode? Because we know it can go either way. But I really feel fearful for Yam Yam's game at this stage because he didn't take that move. Let's have a look at what people are saying. Gabe's saying, I'd say edge because Heidi needed to pull a move at 6. Now she's got no shot. Agree with you 100% there, Gabe. Jared saying, only way Lauren or Heidi wins is if all Tika are medically evacuated. Yeah, it's a little bit too far. So you're saying that they have to play extra dirty, start taking out the competition, play the player, not the game. Christian Gale saying 100%. Scott saying Heidi's got a shot, but just barely. Yeah, it's going to be tough for her against those 3 at the end. I really do think that. Rich is saying, I think Carson only wants her out at 5 because if Carolyn goes at 6, the 3 outside of his Tika 3 could team up to get him and jam out. So I think he sees it easier to do that than the final 5. Carson's strategic mind has been hidden from us a lot in the edit, I believe. I do think Carson is playing a top-tier game out there, and I've been saying it this whole season because he's been riding the middle. He was the biggest reason why Ratu wanted to work with Tika because he had that relationship. Plus, out of nowhere, he suddenly became brochachos with Danny, and Danny wanted to work with him in the game. So clearly, Carson has played a very, very top-tier game, and that's from an edit perspective. It makes me wonder if Carson gets to the end because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen him verbalize all of this. The only thing we see in this previous episode is Carson and Yam Yam talking about potentially taking out Carolyn, and Yam Yam really wants to do it, and then Carson's like, no, we probably shouldn't right now. But we didn't really get to see his thinking behind why he doesn't want to do it. We didn't see who he thinks is a threat. We only saw Yam Yam saying that Carolyn is his biggest threat, and then Carolyn saying that Carson is a big threat, but we never really saw him willing to turn his back on either of them. And I think it's because he feels comfortable that he could beat both of them at the end. I really do think that. Jared saying Yam Yam taking out Carolyn was his biggest move. For Carson, it's not. Carolyn wins over Yam Yam. Carson right now wins. Yeah, it's kind of how I see it. You're in my mind, Jared. It's freaky. Don't know how we're thinking the same. Chris is like saying Carolyn at 1, but fine, put her at 2nd. The people love an underdog. Carolyn over Yam Yam. It's kind of where I'm leaning to as well. I'm kind of in agreement here with you in the live. Georgette's saying if they voted out Carolyn, it would be curtains for Yamamoto and Carson. Gabe saying doesn't keep Carolyn guarantee a Tika final 3. Now they can eat each other at the last one standing wins. Yep, it could happen. Cash was saying, man, if Heidi idled out Carolyn, it would have been a food. Yeah, it would have been a food move for her, a good move for her. I would have cried myself to sleep. Yeah, well, Heidi would have probably done the Marianne taking out Omar, right? It would have been a game-winning move, potentially. Gabe saying, taking out Carolyn at 6, the other 2 gets targeted by the 3 non-Tikas. And then Christian says, I'm wondering who in the jury are going to vote for the right winner. Yeah, well, it's always an interesting one. And we'll talk about potential jury votes in a second. I think we can sort of go through that a little bit as well. But yeah, looking at it for me at this point, I'm in agreement with everybody here in the live. I do think that Carolyn surviving and Yam Yam not taking the shot against her bumps him down in the rankings for me to 3rd at this point. And there's this thing about Yam Yam's edit from the beginning of the season. I've said it. Like, they always give us his perspective. When Yam Yam gets betrayed, we need to feel bad for him because Carolyn voted out Sarah, or he's on the outside of the numbers. He's the underdog. The story's always been about him being the underdog, and we always get his perspective when he feels wronged. So I do think he still has a very big shot at winning, so I'll keep him in Sole Survivor. I do think one of these 3 wins at the end, but I don't think Yam Yam can beat Carolyn or Carson at this stage in the game. And I've kind of seen a few people who are in the live talk about Carson's game, and let's talk about Carson's game. Let's compare Carson's game to Carolyn's game at this point. But I'm going to read a few more of the comments here because I can see you guys are starting to come in here with the comments. Let's have a look. Chris saying, this season reminds me of Cook Island, the smaller outnumbered alliance makes it all the way to the end together. Yeah, Cook Island, Samoa, same thing with the Foa 4. It happens from time to time, right? Wasn't David versus Goliath almost the same? It was like an underdog type of situation with the Davids being outnumbered. So you can never be guaranteed that the big alliance is gonna win the game outright. In fact, if you're ever playing Survivor and you're out there and you've got numbers going into the merge, you should feel fearful because I feel like those big alliances, they don't get to take out the people sometimes that they don't get along with prior to the merge, and they try and make up for lost time. And then they start gunning for each other. Like Josh was a great example. I think it was such a dumb move by Soka to vote Josh out at the merge. It just didn't make any sense. He wanted to play with Soka. I just couldn't get it. I still think it was a really bad move on everybody that was involved in it. And it's probably where the momentum started shifting away from them. They worked so hard to have the numbers going into the merge, and they voted this guy out just because they thought he was shady, but he never did anything shady to them. Scott saying yes for Helen's game. Yam Yam should have taken Carolyn out, but I hope, for his game, Yam Yam should have taken Carolyn out, but I hope his heart can do it. If so, she wins. I hope. Yeah, I agree. Gabe says the edit wants us to like Yam Yam. 100%. And you've got to ask yourself that question, Gabe. Why does the edit want us to? Why do they want us? Because, I mean, Yam Yam would have been a likable character without the edit pushing him on us as much as it is, you know? But you got to ask, why are they pushing him so much on us as an audience? Like, that's why my spidey senses have been going off around Yam Yam this whole season. And I just want to point it out there that, you know, in the draft, I picked Yam Yam as the very first pick in the draft from the start. And if he does win this season, it's going to be absolutely crazy because the conspiracy theorists will come in and be like, oh, Chris must have known something. But I knew nothing. And it would be the first time since we've done the draft, I think, in 8 seasons now for Survivor South Africa, Australian Survivor, and US, that we potentially could have a first pick win. And we've got Kahuna with Carson as his first pick. So if Carson wins, it could be the same. It could be a first pick win, which would be crazy. Cody, welcome to the live, says, hi, Chris, finally made it to a live. Love your takes. Thanks so much, Cody. I really appreciate that. I just said earlier, you know, one of the things I really love doing here on the channel is talking to the live audience. And tonight I'm on my own, no Kahuna. He's still sleeping over in Australia. It's still pretty early over there, but it gives us more time to just talk one-on-one as we do this final rankings here for the season. Jared saying Carson wins because he has built trust with everyone. Jamie and Lauren voted with Tika against Danny because they trusted him. He had more impact on the most of the jury than Yam Yam or Carolyn. I agree. And I'm happy, Jared, that you're seeing this because I feel like talking to other people, even some other content creators, I really feel like they're missing the whole point around Carson. And they're only following what the editor's showing us about Carson, which is they're kind of masking some of his strategic gameplay, I feel like, from us. Like, we never really got to see how he forged that relationship with Danny, how he suddenly had Brandon so close to him after Matthew left, and, you know, why he didn't want to go ahead with Kane. There was a lot of his thinking we didn't get to see, and we know he's good at articulating his thoughts because they do give us some good Carson confessionals, but why don't we see that? And I feel like it's my personal belief. I'll put Carson at the top because I think he's the person to beat. But my personal belief is that he's going to get sniped. And if Yam Yam is smart, he snipes out both Carolyn and Carson before he gets to the end. We could be completely wrong. All of us could be completely wrong. He goes with both Carson and Carolyn to the end, still wins. Or he beats Carolyn because no one respects Carolyn's game, which to me would be the worst. Like, if Carolyn gets to the end and she doesn't get the respect she deserves because people see her as this emotional player, as someone that didn't always make a lot of sense out there, and they can't see behind the gameplay that she's had this season, I would be gutted for her if it goes down that way. Richard says, social and physical, Carson wins. Carolyn looks better strategically because of the shock factor, given her personality, but overall, I say Carson. I agree. I do think Carson remains the person to take out here in the end game before we get into the end game. Now, I want to know from you as a live audience, because we're done and dusted here with the rankings. We got the rankings in lock. We've got Lauren in 5th place, Heidi in 4th place. They're both on the edge. We don't believe they've got a shot at possibly winning this game, which I know is rich of us to say because players have gotten to the end and have proven us wrong and have won this game from nowhere. Certainly, if we look at Erica's edit, the way that they showed her game in the first season of this new era, I do think that, both Heidi and Lauren could still win, and it shouldn't be a shock. But the Tika 3, it's been their story this season, right? It's just really been their story. I do want to know from you in the live audience, for this season to end well, who should, I've obviously got my biased opinions, and I'm sure all of you are going to probably think down the same line as I am, but who do you think makes this season the best possible season at the end? Like, if we had a certain person win this season, I asked this question, and I didn't ask who would be the best one, but I said finale week, who do you have winning? And 46%, let me just refresh that to see if anybody else went to go vote while the live is on. Yeah, there's actually been quite a few. We've got 123 votes now, so we've gone up quite a bit. Carolyn's sitting at 44%. Yam Yam's sitting at 35%. Carson is sitting at 15%. And then Lauren and Heidi are sitting at 7%. Who do you think wins at the end and makes this a top-tier season for you? And does the winner of a season dictate for you as an audience member if the season is good or not? Like, if we had an underwhelming winner this season, we got, and no disrespect to Heidi or Lauren, but we get someone winning the season we didn't expect to win it. Does it change in your mind where the season sits? Let's have a look here at some of the comments that are coming in. Cody is saying, I either believe all three makes it to the final tribal or Carson takes out the other two. I hope he does. I really do hope Carson is awake enough, because he seems to be the most loyal out of the three of them. And he seems to think that if he goes to the end and sits next to them, he could still win the game. He backs his game that much. So I'm a little bit worried for him, because we've not seen his thoughts on who is his biggest threat. We've seen Carolyn say she can't sit next to Carson. We've seen Yam Yam say he can't sit next to Carolyn. So that makes me fearful of him, that he doesn't seem to be aware of that. Or he feels very comfortable in that alliance. Gabe is saying, I think Carson is doomed at fire. All those fire references got to make it, right? He loses at fire and at fire can't 3D print a fire. Yeah, true. Can't 3D print a fire. Oh, man. He should have practiced in his backyard. Like, surely you can do that. Chris is saying, I'm so biased, but I think Carolyn has the best story. They underestimated her, thought she was too goofy to be a serious threat, but she had excellent reads and worked for this. And Chris, we may not always agree on the challenge. We have our different favorites and takes on that, but we've been seeing things the same way this season here. Look at us. So Survivor 44, we've been shouting for the same people, which is great, and I do agree. I think Carolyn wins this season, and for me, this becomes a top tier season. It automatically becomes my favorite season of the new era because of the story of Carolyn. And also, she stands out to me because of the fact that I misjudged her. Just like I misjudged Mike Turner as well, and some other players when they came on. I like being the person that's wrong about people. Like, they stand out to me the most. Those are the characters that stand out to me when they come on, and they remind me, don't judge a book by its cover. Cody's saying fire's not a bad thing. Fire represents life. Well, in this case, it could represent the end of Carson's game. Let's hope not, Cody. Richard's saying Carson should win, but Carolyn winning, just so fun and refreshing. 100%. It'd be great to have like a character winner, come out. We get very few of them. Jared, thank you so much for the $5. I really appreciate that. Like I've always said, any donations that anybody feels like they want to give, I really appreciate it. It's never needed, but it goes straight back into the channel as we want to continue to grow this channel with you, the live audience, as well. And I'm really excited about some of the things that are going to come up in the next couple of months, because we've got new shows coming out that we're going to be covering on the show. So, we've got $1 Million Island, Australia, which Kahuna is going to be doing. Traitors Season 2 for Australia is probably going to be the first season I'll cover, but I'll also look at Traitors in the US. And I'm also thinking about doing The Mole when that comes out. So we want to continue to add more shows here. And obviously this goes towards that. So I really appreciate that from you there, Jared. Gabe is saying, I didn't even read your question. Some other Survivor content creators are shocking me with their basic lack of what was shown. I'm glad here at TNT we're willing to think critically. Listen, I take that as a massive compliment because not that long ago, 2 years ago, I was just a fan listening to other content creators, right? So obviously you try and come onto the scene, you try and create your own channel, you try and do something different. You try and think differently about the show. I think one of the things that's helped me a lot, Jared, I don't think I can take all the credit for it. I do think that my thinking of Survivor has evolved a lot over the last probably 2 years since I've started doing this, because of the fact that I've been fortunate enough to talk to many Survivor players. I've had many Survivor South Africans on the show. I've had Australian survivors that I've spoken to. I've now also gotten the opportunity to speak to some Survivor US players. So if you go back to some of the earlier recaps I did this season, you would see Omar, Mike Turner, who am I forgetting? There's been a few players that came on earlier this season, which was great. It was great to get their perspective. And I think when you get previous players on the show and you get to talk to them, you start realizing that you only know so much. You only know a little bit, but there's so much the show doesn't show you. And sometimes you got to read like the subtleties, like the body language or things that is shown in a scene that potentially could give you like a different vibe. So I try my best. And I take that as a massive compliment that you think that way. Gabe says, any Tika winning would be satisfying. The other two, I'd be scratching my head and confused. I agree. Scott saying, my hope is that Carson's edit shows him for a return, but Carolyn wins. And Carolyn winning would be like bittersweet to me because I've always been the person that believes that if you win, you shouldn't be coming back on a season that doesn't have at least the tribe of winners. So I don't really want to see like I loved Marianne. She's a great character as well, but Marianne coming back would feel like a waste to me when she comes back with non-winners, because I feel like people will just take her out early. Maybe she does get to the merge. I don't know. But I just always feel like bringing a winner back in a non-winner versus runner-up type of season or winners at war type of season is such a waste, and I want to keep them high in my mind. So if Carolyn does win, I'd be very happy, but that means we won't see her back. So I don't know. Maybe I don't want her to win so I can see her come back. Chris saying, I'm so proud of us finally finding one person we can root for together. Yeah, it's I don't know how many shows has it been, Chris. It's been must be like 6 or 7 shows, but we finally found that one person that we can now agree on. Christian is saying, I'm curious, who wins the Final Four immunity challenge? Because usually it's dexterity challenge. It's a good question. And there's this whole thinking out there right now that people have that Carson could win that final immunity and then make fire against someone because he feels like he needs to take them out to win, and then potentially lose the fire challenge against that person who then ultimately wins. So I don't know. Carson probably does have a chance. But I feel like if I was them, if we had to put ourselves in their shoes right now out there, we're all in agreement Carson's the biggest target. He's ranked number 1. They should be taking Carson out next. And I feel like Yam Yam will do it if the opportunity is there, because he's guaranteed making fire in the next spot. So the risk is really low. If you're there right now, you've got to think not alliance-wise. You've got to think, who do I have the best shot at winning against at the end? And Carson's not the guy. It's not the guy you want to sit next to in the final. So I feel like Carson, in my opinion, even though we've ranked him number 1, it's because they should take him out, right? I think that he does get taken out. And I think that you probably end up with the likes of a Carolyn, a Yam Yam, a Heidi, and a Lauren in the Final Four. And in that case, Lauren's the person who's proven herself so far as someone that can win immunity. So my money would have to be on Lauren to win final immunity. At least if she gets there, I think she can win it. And I do think she's got a little bit of a case. Scott says, regardless of who wins, this is the best season of the new era. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this season. I think it's been a really, really good season. Strong characters, good alliances. They also kind of backed away a little bit with the twists towards the end of the season. I'd like for them to have more of the season with less twists. And especially, I feel like the balance is off right now in Survivor. I've said it a few times, where they do all these twists in the beginning, which means it takes away from us getting to know the players, which hopefully next season, being 90 minutes, we will still get to know the players even with twists in the game. And hopefully the extra time that they've got, they don't just put it into more twists, right? So we can actually get to know the players and see them play in the beginning, so that when they get to the merge, we already have our people, Getting into the merge, there were a lot of people from Ratu and Soka I didn't feel like I knew, which is again why heavily for me, my focus is on Tika towards the end as a potential, having one of the potential winners. Cody saying I would also love a Carolyn win. Yes. Join the train, Cody. Join the clan, the Carolyn clan. Gabe is saying I believe it's between Carolyn or Yam Yam. Either would be fun winner for the season. I agree. If Carson wins immunity, puts himself in fire and loses, will be the dumbest blunder of all time. Yeah, I don't know if he's that dumb. That's the thing. That's why I'm finding that theory hard to believe. I just don't see it because I don't feel like he needs to put himself in fire. I feel like he's played the kind of game where he could sit next to anyone. Jared saying, yes, this is the best season of the new era. Yep, I love it. Georgette says, could Carolyn pull out a final immunity win? Anyone could pull it out, right? It's just we haven't seen like that. If there's one weakness to Carolyn's game right now, let's be honest, it is the fact that she has not won immunity yet. That is the one weakness to her game. We had a very great player play Australian Survivor, recently that strategically was really good, socially was really good, but they couldn't do well at immunity challenges or challenges as a whole. And because of that, they're not the complete package yet. Because I know some people don't value, different challenge wins as much as they do strategic play, but I always value a balanced player. I like a player that can do a little bit of everything for you to be great. Jared says, I really don't like how meta fire making has become. Apparently anyone who wanted to win had to beat Jesse last season. That's kind of what everyone expected. Not a fan of that, honestly. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not a fan of the fire making as a whole. I've never been a fan of it. Jeff's explanation about bringing it in so that bigger players can make it deeper into the game or have a shot at winning, I don't think it holds true because similar to how they figured out when they needed to bring all their gear to the tribal council because they were going to go to a new beach, people have figured out after the first couple of seasons, they just need to take the threats out a couple of rounds earlier. So I don't think the fire making challenge for me is needed. I've never been a fan of it. We don't have fire making in international. We don't have it in Australian Survivor. We don't have it in Survivor South Africa. And to be honest, I don't miss it. I prefer what the international franchises are doing with the show much more. And I've always said I thought Gabler deserved his win last season, and I stand by that. I still feel like Gabler was a good winner last season. I feel like he did more than Cassidy. And I know that there's a lot of Cassidy fans out there that may disagree with me, and that's fine. We can all have different opinions. We don't have to hate on each other for thinking differently because we're all individuals. We all love and respect different things in the game. My personal opinion is Gabler played a better game, but I didn't feel like it was fair that the final jury was hard on Cassidy for not doing that. To me, that was unfair, and I don't feel like you said, her game should have been judged based on that sole move in the game because she could have gotten 99 things wrong, and then just this one last move, she didn't do the optimal thing in the jury's eyes, which to me is just bollocks. I don't believe in that. Andrew saying, let's do this. Do what? We've already done the power rankings. I'll bring it back up, Andrew, if you're late to it. So if you want to see what the power rankings look like, let me know. Scott says, listening to more Survivor podcasts than I have at any previous season, this is the most unpredictable finale I can recall. Yeah, so it's interesting because I've also jumped on a few other podcasters, guests and stuff like that, and everybody's got like their own opinion. Like the one I jumped on the weekend, people were thinking Heidi's going to win, and I'm like, how? So we all have our own takes and our own things that we're seeing in the game, and that's what I love, and that's why going into next season, I want to continue to bring more podcasters onto the channel so we can continue to have that diversity in thinking out there, which I think is important in the podcasting community. I love hearing other people's perspective. Cody's saying, do you believe Carson was telling Yam Yam the truth when he said he was his number one? I actually believe Carolyn is his number one. I think so well, it's hard, right? Because I do feel like he's close with both of them, but the edit has always shown us whenever Carson has had to make a very difficult decision in the game, he pulls Yam Yam aside and he talks to Yam Yam about it. And a few times they've actually gone against Carolyn's wishes. Like, for instance, the Franny one comes to mind immediately. So I've kind of always seen Yam Yam personally as Carson's lieutenant. I feel like he's playing a lieutenant game. He's playing the Stephen Fish back to JT game almost. But I think that Yam Yam is going to take JT out in this one, if that makes sense. Andrew saying, question, in Final Tribal Council, will TK3 perhaps have the game rating discounted because they ganged up together? I say they all get a third credit for any success. I think personally, I think it's a difficult one, but I think that in Survivor, when you get to a Final Tribal Council, the differences between if people have played a very similar game in your mind and they've made a lot of the same moves in the game, I think it comes down to who do you like more. I really do. If you're like, man, I could feel good about Yam Yam winning, or I could feel good about Carson winning because they've made the same moves in the game and they dominated. But I had a really close bond with Carson. And the reason I bring that up is because Carson seemed to be good with both Lauren and Jamie throughout the game. They wanted to work with him throughout the game. He had Brandon in his pocket when Matthew left, and Brandon wanted to play with him in the game. Kane thought that, there was this Geek Alliance thing going on. He was close to him, and he had Danny in his pocket. So to me, I feel like Carson probably wins in that case based on the fact that I think he had the most bonds with different people. We've been told that Yam Yam's got a great social game, but we've never seen, have you ever seen Yam Yam have those one-on-one conversations like Carson did on the show? Like Carson had those conversations with Brandon. He had those conversations with Lauren and Jamie. He had that conversation with Danny that I can remember. I don't see Yam Yam working that way. We just get told by the edit he's great socially, but I haven't seen it. And it could be that he does have that, but I do think that the social game, when three people are that close at the end, it's going to come down to that. And I do think that I still feel like Carolyn may be underestimated, which I'm sad. If that has something, it'll sadden me a little bit, especially because she was out of the Franny vote. People might hold that against her at the end. Scott says, as unlikely as it is, I would love to see Carolyn win an immunity challenge. 100%. Gabe saying, fire making was introduced for TV aspect. Jeff wants to get more liked winners. I think Jeff needs to learn that, I've learned this about Survivor personally, is that your favorite does not win every season. And that's okay. That's what makes it so special when your favorite does win a season. Like for me, I never in a million years thought Tony would win twice. When Tony won Cagayan, I was like, this guy is crazy. He's the mad scientist of Survivor, super innovative, fun character. He had everything for me. And, he went out first in Game Changers. I was heartbroken, but I was like, it's to be expected. The guy's just a massive target. And then he came back for Winners of War. I was like, it's going to be Game Changers all over again. They're not going to let him get close to the end. So after Tony won twice, I was like, now I can live with winners I like and don't like. For me now, it's more about the journey. But if someone wins that is satisfying, like a Carolyn winning the season, it probably does push the Survivor season up in my mind. Like if a Survivor season has a good winner and a good conclusion, I always love the season more. That's why I've always liked Ghost Island more than a lot of other people, because I'm big on Wendell and Dom's game, and I loved the whole aspect that they were tied at the end and that Wendell ended up taking it out. It was a good season for me. Jared saying, Gable played an underrated game and earned his win, but you're right, Jesse and the jury were overly hard on Cassidy for winning immunity and then decided not to give up immunity. Yeah, it's sad. Sarah, welcome. Sorry I'm late. Didn't get the notification. I'm here now. I know, Sarah. Sorry, man. I'm to blame because I changed the time from yesterday to today, so it's fine. Happy to have you here now. I'll bring up the power rankings for you really quickly, just so you can see what we've done here. I had the wonderful live audience help me in doing this power ranking, but we've got Lauren in fifth, Heidi in fourth. They're both on the edge because we don't think that they're going to win against the TK3. And because it's a final three, we most likely think that one of the three winners are sitting in Sole Survivor. We've got Yam Yam in third, Carolyn in second, and Carson currently on first going into the end. So that's our power rankings. And I've just been talking a little bit here to the live audience. We're just having a bit of a chat. Scott saying, yes, Final Four is utter BS. Yep. 100% agree. Gabe saying, it's not fun when the game changed to get a specific type of winner. Yeah, why force it? Why force it? Sarah saying, also, I watched Jeff Probst's podcast, and it sounds like he was really hyping up Lauren. How do you feel about Lauren's chances of winning if that happens? Well, I think we just spoiled it. We've got her at the bottom at fifth. I don't think Lauren's winning. And I think that Jeff is doing it on purpose to create hype. If she does win, I'm going to be so confused. Like, if Lauren wins, I'm going to question, like, even more than what I'm questioning Jeff's sanity right now. I'll question his sanity and how to put a product out there that the audience will actually enjoy. And I did a collaboration with Once Upon an Island not that long ago, where we spoke about unpopular opinions. And I put mine in as an unpopular opinion, even though I know a lot of people are tired of Jeff. I don't think anybody wants Jeff to quit. I think people probably want Jeff to pull his head in and just be the host and maybe not be as involved creatively in the show as he is currently. But I kind of said, like, maybe it's time for him to move on, because I feel like he's lost touch with the audience a lot in recent times. And it hurts me to say that. I do like Jeff. There's still this part of me. It's like, Jeff's just someone that I used to know, but he's different now. He's different. He's not the same Jeff from back in the day. And I think his power's gone to his head and he's doing his own thing out there. Chris is saying, I think the jury definitely loves Carson the most. I think Franny and Matt vote for Carolyn. The rest could vote for Carson unless there is a great tribal performance for someone. Yeah, I agree. TY. I don't know what TY means. You're going to have to explain to me. Winning forever changed Jeff's view on a Survivor winner. And it's so dumb. It's so dumb. Like, listen, I'm not going to lie. I like Michelle. I think she's a really cool Survivor character. Obviously, she's come into the challenge world now as well. And she does bring something to the challenge as well that I do like. But I've never been high on Michelle's win either. Like, I don't think she's like one of the best winners we've ever had. I know she got to the end twice, so that puts her up in a lot of people's minds and should be respected. But I do think to a certain degree, it's because people didn't see her as a threat to win that season because she wasn't in charge. I was a big Aubrey fan that season. But just because of the fact that Michelle won, like, who cares? Like, it's going to happen from time to time. Like, I hope it's not true that Michelle was the one that changed Jeff's mind on how they should force people to win the game. Like, come on. Sandy saying, Jeff seems so out of touch with the fan base. This podcast proves that, yeah. Michelle truly a game changer for the wrong reasons, eh, Sandy? Jared, welcome to the live, says Yam Yam is likable and funny, but he would not pitch as well as Carson or Carolyn. He's been very selfish, mean, and petty the whole season. He just makes up for it with humor, not the winner, in my opinion. I hope you're right, because I really hope that I don't personally hate on Yam Yam. I think Yam Yam is a really fun character as well. But we said this earlier in the live here, Jared. I don't know if you were here for it, but I feel like Yam Yam's been pushed on us as someone that we should like. Like, the editor's constantly telling us why we should like him. And I pointed it out a little bit earlier in the live, that every time he was wronged, we would always see his side of why he feels wronged and why people are being mean to him, so that we could get behind him as the underdog. And I kind of see, as someone that have watched a lot of Survivor over the years and a lot of reality TV, competitive reality TV specifically, I kind of see these little tricks that they do from an editing perspective, which gets the alarm bells going off for me. It's like, why should we care if he's not winning? You know what I mean? So they need to make us feel okay with him potentially winning. So I still think he's got a good shot, but I really, really hope that you're right and that Carson or Carolyn wins, specifically Carolyn. I've been a very big fan of Carolyn this season. Chris saying Michelle is queen for that. I mean, it's probably for the game changer stuff, right? Gab's saying, if it comes down to a social game, I think Yam Yam better relationships on the jury. Carolyn has Frankie mainly, I feel, and Franny mainly, I feel, and Danny and Brandon didn't really care about her socially. Yeah, I don't think Danny and Brandon would ever be a vote for Carolyn. I think we can count that against so it's going to come down to if the ladies, the mothers that all bonded together, if they would stand with Carolyn, I think would be a big part of her potentially winning the season. Trillia winning really enraged Jeff. If Lauren winning is true, just another case of female winners. Disastrous edit. Yes. Danica says, sorry, I'm late. You changed rooms. Yep, I'm in Tampa. It is bucketing down outside. I can say that, yes. So I got here. So we're going to be here for about a week before I head down to the Bahamas, which I'm really looking forward to as well. So this week we're doing a bit, like you can see, this is the final Power Rankings live stream for the season. And then we've got our end of the season review after the finale with the Survivor Scholars, who I'm very excited to introduce to you if you guys haven't heard of them before. They're going to be doing the finale recap with myself and Jake. And then Kahuna and I will be back on Saturday evening, I believe 9 p.m., we're going to be doing our final challenge World Championship player review and ranking for the season, which I'm really excited about. And then for the next week, when I'm down in the Bahamas, I'm not going to be doing any content for at least that week. There's going to be nothing. But the week following that, I'm looking at potentially doing a draft for the Challenge USA 2 with Drew and Chantal, but we still have to lock in a time for that. And I do want to do some Survivor off-season content. So one of those pieces that I'd like to get in maybe the week, so not next week, but the week after, I'd love to do a Survivor 46 All-Stars draft wish list. Like, who would we like to see? So stay tuned to the channel. Even though we're getting into the off-season, we're going to be doing a lot of content still. We're going to be doing some Survivor off-season content, which I'm excited about, and we're going to be doing some Challenge off-season content, because it actually looks like we're going to have some off-season for the Challenge, which is kind of strange. We haven't had an off-season in almost like a year and a half or 2 years now. Scott saying, if the Tika 3 make the final 3, it'll be the best final tribal council ever, and will come down to who makes the best presentation. I think Carolyn could do it, but Yam Yam will be awesome too. Yep. Agree. Thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you, bro. Okay. I get it. I'm getting old. The grays are coming out of my beard, you see? That's why I don't get the different abbreviations here on the internet. Sarah saying, how do you feel about the Carson fire? Do you think he's going to Final Four fire making? If so, do you think Heidi or Carolyn goes against? I think he goes against Heidi. I personally don't believe, I personally feel like Carson should be taken out next. I feel like they should vote him out next. Don't let him get to the final immunity challenge. So I don't know. It could be a red herring, because we also know that Yam Yam has been shown to make fire. We know Heidi has been shown to make fire. So who knows? I feel like the editors are playing with us. But if it does play out that way, it would be pretty satisfying that we all caught onto it very early on. Georgette saying Jeff should only host, not produce. Agreed. Sarah says, and sadly loses a fire. Yep. So I don't know. I don't think he's going to go into fire, but let's see if it goes down that way. It would be sad to see his game go down in flames, and it would be another reason why we should all then be angry at the fire, because the fire cost Jesse a win. It cost Devin a win. You know, who else? It would have cost Carson a win. So it's instead of creating great winners, it's making great potential winners lose the game. It's doing the opposite, Jeff. Scott says, unless Lauren wins immunity, she's gone at 5. Danica says, I don't think Yam Yam is the underdog at this point. It's Lauren. I do agree with you. They're definitely out of the numbers now. Jared saying, Jeff gets upset for Michelle winning, then don't put an advantage in the game that eliminates one jury member from voting. Yeah, I hate that. So, Jared, I've got a real pet peeve with that. I've had the opportunity to meet Leroux Botha, who's the producer for Survivor South Africa, and I had lunch with him when I was in South Africa last time. And I'm going to be going to South Africa pretty soon, actually. And hopefully I get to catch up with him again and get some updates on what's happening with Survivor South Africa. But I actually said it to him, because they also brought that twist into Survivor South Africa. And I said to him, in the future, can you please not eliminate a jury member? Because we as fans really believe that if you got that deep in the game, you deserve your spot on the jury bench. You've worked for that spot on the jury bench. So I asked him, listen, can you just bring the nullifier back? Bring a jury vote nullifier. So how it would work is you sit there, the jury gets to ask all the questions, get ready to vote, and then Jeff says, hey, this person found an advantage in the game or earned an advantage in the game via a challenge, so they can now nullify one of the jury votes. So it gives someone in the final tribal council the ability to again showcase that they understand the social dynamics in the game and who's potentially not going to vote for them. So I feel like that's a more fair way of doing it, if that makes sense. Gab saying Yam Yam is like more by the jury over Carolyn. I think, remember Danny and Brandon moment, they didn't care about Carolyn, only looked like Carolyn has Franny. Agreed. Jared saying, yep, same, hoping Yam Yam point of view is there because he takes out Carolyn or Carson, but loses to the one he doesn't take out. That would be cool. That would be super cool, actually. Jared says the advantages are out of control. Just let the players outwit instead of giving overpowered advantages out. Or everything in moderation, right, Jared? Everything in moderation instead of putting 10 things in the game. I feel like Jeff looks at us fans and he's like, the fans don't get it. We need advantages in the game because if we didn't have it, the game would be boring. And I do agree with him. I think people want a classic Survivor season, but if they got it and there was no advantages in the game and the cast didn't deliver, it potentially could be a very boring season. So my thinking with that is that instead of completely taking advantages out of the game, just bring 1 or 2 in per season. Don't do like everything, and especially so beginning of the season heavy. I just don't like that because it takes away from us getting to know the players. Danica saying I could see Carolyn getting Brandon, Danny, if she talks about their Bros Alliance, how she spearheaded getting them out. Maybe if they are happy to take eat humble pie, and I don't know if they are. That's the only problem. Christian says Survivor 45 season pre-picks in late summer. Yeah, we'll definitely do the 45 draft pick, but it'll be closer to when the show is going to premiere, probably within a month from the show premiering. We'll probably do that draft picks. I think there's some cool off-season topics we can jump into with you as the audience, and maybe I'll even put a couple of ideas out there on the community page here on the Nullified Tech channel, and let all of you vote for the topics you would like for us to talk about the most, if that makes sense. And I'm also open to suggestions, right? So if there is a topic that you would like for us to talk about in the off season that you feel like other podcasters have not done justice, or they just haven't done it at all, email me at the nullified take, all one word, at gmail.com. The nullified take at gmail.com, and just say, hey, I'm a listener of the show. I love the show, and we'd love for you guys to talk about X, Y, or Z, and that way I can put it on the whiteboard and we can talk about it, because we haven't had an off season in such a long time. I'm actually excited about it. Gabe says All-Stars draft be fun, but it's only 40s players. I think that we probably I probably think we what we would want to do. Like, I'd rather do what I would hope the show does, and I'd rather have it be from mid-30s till 40s, because I feel like there's some players that deserve a callback from David versus Goliath and some of those seasons around that time that haven't come back yet. Jared says Yam Yam was seen as the social threat and was voted at almost every vote. Lauren was one of the majority and had extra vote. Yeah, I think she's only now, I think what Danica means is she's only now become the underdog. Gabe says Jesse would have lost 4 no matter what, I believe, at 4. Yeah, they probably would have voted him out. Sandy says, yeah, jury removal is harsh. Sarah says, have you seen the subreddit post making fun of the fire edit and making a joke saying the edit is really Carson, stating he would set the camp ablaze? It was called Arson Carson. I was laughing. No, I've not seen it. I only go most of the time on Reddit. I don't have too much time to engage too much there. I post and ghost a lot of the time, but I try and go back and read every now and again. I'm just not on that too often. Sarah saying way harder than should have. Danica says, I'm just talking about, from 5 after. Yep. I get you, Danica. I got you. Gabe says that was accident. Send comment twice. Scott says, if you ever get to Chicago, hit me up and we'll meet up for a beer or 3. My beard is already grey. Yeah, mine is starting to. It's just getting there, mate. Slowly but surely. But I'll let you know if I'm ever in Chicago. I do plan on. I probably won't be in Chicago this time around, but I do plan on coming back to the States for Survivor 46. I want to go to one of those Bryson Wen Presents events, and like I said earlier, if there's anybody else that is also really interested in one of those events, then maybe that's also a place where a lot of us can meet up in the future. Sarah, Arson Carson is hilarious. 100%. All right, I think that is it here for the live talking about the power rankings. We did a little bit more than power rankings, and I always love engaging with you, the live audience, and talking about the show. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen here by the end of the week, who's going to be the new champion of Survivor. And like I said, there's some content that's going to come up in the next couple of weeks. So please keep an eye on the channel. Even if it is off season, we're going to do some more stuff. And for me personally, I love having the audience involved. I love talking to you guys. I love having you guys give me the energy, the ideas, the creativity. We're really a team here on the Nullified Take channel. So make sure to check out for when we go live next so we can talk about some of these off-season topics. But for now, everybody out there, stay safe, stay dry. If you're in any of these wet areas like I am currently, consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here, hitting the like, putting the notification bell on so you can be informed next time we go live. But for now, grab your torches, head back to camp. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.